Hi, friends. Welcome back to another episode of Friends of Disney. I'm Jonelle.
I'm Sean.
And if you're not already, please like and subscribe to us on YouTube or Spotify or wherever you choose to listen to us, because we're not just in one area, we're everywhere. Also Instagram. Check us out there.
Yes. And like there.
We'll make this guy the like.
Okay.
Anyways. We're going to talk about
Yet another Zack and Cody episode.
Okay, this episode is kind of interesting.
It's a funny episode.
Well, it is funny, but I think there's a lot of good morals to be talked about in this episode because it's essentially the game telephone.
I was thinking the same thing.
Well, I'm glad I'm not the only one. But
to be fair, though, like in the last 13 episodes we've been doing on Zack and Cody, there's been a lot of lessons in them, weirdly enough.
Well, I mean, if you kind of think about it, like a majority of like Disney's TV shows, like their sitcoms, is really to teach life lessons.
Yeah, but it's interesting like how like much there's actually been like different lessons in each episode. Like this is episode 4. I think it's actually 14 or 15.
This is the 15th episode.
Yeah, so 15 episodes of just a lot of life lessons.
We're still not even done with season 1.
No, but they've all had this huge mask of like being really entertaining, sitcom-y like way. It's funny to me. I don't know.
Also, friends, let us know if you make it to 20 minutes in the episode, what lessons you learned from Zack and Cody.
That's a weird plug. We did not talk about that.
Hey, you know, I want to know if they make it to 20 minutes or not.
I mean, fair. But anyways, no, you're right that it's essentially the game telephone, because basically the whole premise of this is that there's just a lot of rumors spreading around the hotel, and it's with each person it spreads to, it changes, much in like the game of telephone where you like whisper something and then by the time it gets to the last person, you basically are like, it's not even close to what the original thing was.
Oh, definitely not. I mean, I think London's one is the most realistic lie that could be persuaded the most.
What, the Maddie and Lance are back together?
No, that she's an animal hater.
I mean, I wouldn't call that necessarily like...
I think that's the most common one that we deal with today, though, in the news, you know? Like, when you look at magazine titles, you're looking at, like, oh, this and this person had an affair.
It's old school clickbait.
Yeah.
Because...
Instead, this would now be posted on TikTok rather than Us Weekly.
Exactly. You mean US Weekly?
I thought it was Us.
I'm pretty sure it's US Weekly.
Okay, now you really need to let us know in the comments, is it Us or US Weekly? Because I always thought it was Us.
I'm pretty sure it's US Weekly, just like how we have US News.
But like, I would assume because it doesn't go...
Anyways, it's
over celebrities only, like, come on.
But no, it's old school clickbait, looking for the headline that'll get people to read it, only to find out it's really not worth your read.
Yeah.
We see it with online news articles all the time.
I mean, how many of those stupid news articles do you read, though, is the real question.
Some of them it actually piques my interest a little bit, but like a lot of them, it's like the same, like recently, like with Snow White coming out, like a lot of them have just been like the same thing, like, yeah, Rachel Zegler screwed the movie. Woohoo, surprise, surprise.
I find the ones like the most funny now because like a lot of, I don't know if you've noticed, but BuzzFeed like kind of does things on like TikTok.
I feel like BuzzFeed's kind of died off.
BuzzFeed has died off, but when they do articles, the articles that they do are based off of like this one TikTok follower, and then they spilt the tea, and then they follow the tea. Like, you could do all of this stuff yourself.
Well, it's the kind of like how I had a lot of headlines one day about this internet philanthropist that saw 100 people in a day.
Mm-hmm.
And how she was holding up after seeing all of those people. And yes, that is me censoring it. But anyways, No. Have you ever heard of a situation like Maddie's rumor where it was like, oh my god, they're back together. I saw them kissing.
I mean, I dealt with kind of a similar thing in middle school, and me and her are actually good friends now. So Delilah, if you watch this, I'm so sorry about that one time in middle school, but like um I mean, I guess it doesn't really matter now since we're both adults. But anyways, I just remember one time I had told another girl in class um that this girl had started. I went to a This is how I got my first boyfriend too. Gosh, I am so sorry, and I'm trying to stay on topic here, but it's hard when you're trying to remember something. Anyways, so I was at a dance in on the reservation, dancing with all my other native friends, and there were two guys. One that was interested in me, and the other one that I was interested in. He was not interested in me. Um, anyways, the guy that I was not interested in that much ended up becoming my boyfriend that night. Also, the guy I ended up having my first kiss with. Um, and then besides that point, there's a little section, and everyone was like kind of going back and forth between dancing and making out, but welcome to the reservation, you guys. Anyways,
So middle school.
I know.
So middle school.
So middle school. Um, and I saw one of the girls in my grade making out with another person. I'm going to use person because I'm assuming that they are trans from what I would kind of consider now. Maybe they're just lesbian. But anyways, besides that point,
We're going with the gender neutral options to be safe.
yes. Um but like quite literally like a few days before she was dating another guy, and so I talked about it with someone else and I started this rumor. And that also wasn't the first rumor I started either.
You actually started rumors.
Unintentionally.
Okay. So
One of them I got inspired by Diary of a Wimpy Kid.
what, the cheese touch?
Yes. No joke, the cheese touch. Okay, there was one guy in our class and he wouldn't like wear socks. He had like a really weird sensory disorder thing, I think. Honestly not too sure. I just think he didn't remove the calluses or cleaned off his skin really well. But anyways, he would leave dead skin and like not wear shoes or socks or anything. And
That's
I
so
just
gross.
I just didn't want dead skin. Like his desk was not that far from mine, and I felt really grossed out by it. So like in 6th grade, I started this thing called the Christian touch just because I was just like, and it was, I didn't mean for it to turn out like the cheese touch. It was just kind of like, please don't touch me if you've touched Christians' stuff.
So I don't know how well. No, wait. Do I want to talk about that? No, I'm gonna save that. I might bring it up later, but I'm gonna save that for another episode. Otherwise,
Also, one side note, friends, a few years later, I ended up talking to Christian and I did apologize to him about that situation in 6th grade.
that's funny.
I was a freshman in high school when I apologized to him. And
On good terms now, I presume.
actually, yeah.
Okay, sweet.
Yeah.
Anyways, so it's funny talking about rumors. I never had to really deal with rumors that much in high school or middle school, mostly because I was a band kid and that's where I remained.
I mean, there was rumors about me and I was band kid, so.
Yeah, but not rumors in like the normal sense. It was always pure. It was for me. It was always purely like observational. Like, oh, they're together. I guess. Okay, woohoo. Move on. Moving on with my life. But at work, I work in the float pool. So my department goes everywhere in the hospital. And because of the nature of our job and stuff,
Do you work
we're
on the surgery floor for float pool by any chance?
yeah.
Okay, side note, my boss is going into surgery next week. Can you watch her?
um no, so with me being in the float pool, my department goes everywhere in the hospital. But we're 12-hour employees. So between 6:30 and 7 is when we give report. The thing is that when we give report, sometimes we're done a little bit early before 7 o'clock. And so we'll actually go back and hang out in the break room until it's the end of our shift because we handed off our patients. There's nothing for us to do for like 10 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
And so we'll just hang out in the break room because if we were to clock out early, they'll take out that extra pay out of
Out of your paycheck.
our PTO.
Oh,
They
ew.
ensure we have to be paid for 12 hours.
That
By
sucks.
that's by contract and stuff. But during that time, we're just sitting here talking about our day. We talk about so much gossip about what is going on in the hospital.
So is it like Grey's Anatomy?
No.
Damn.
No! Just no! Grey's Anatomy is so inaccurate.
I mean, but in terms of like HR drama, do you have to deal with some of that?
No, not really. But it's funny because it's a lot about the hospital politics of what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, do you guys see this email? Or this floor is doing this thing. This floor is doing this thing. These people have left, and like, it's just talking about so much gossip about the crap that's going around the hospital, and it's entertaining because that's how I can pull so much information so fast. I had a coworker actually ask me when I was like only a few months there, how do I know so much? And this is a coworker that's been there for like 18 years or whatever. So he's been there a long time. He goes, how do you know so much? And I'm like, I just ask questions. Basically, is what like we would talk about at the end of the day. I'm like, I'm just asking questions. I gotta know what's going on. He goes, oh, I thought you were just eavesdropping on like everyone.
Oh.
Okay. How do you handle like what's like how does work drama work at you in terms of like gossip and rumors? Like I feel like it exists harshly in the workplace.
In the corporate world, drama is different. So, more specifically at my job, this is kind of how the drama goes.
Mm-hmm.
I need you to get okay, so let's pretend that Casper is like one of the lesser employees just doing a day-to-day task.
Mm-hmm.
We're both managers.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? I'm the bigger manager though.
Mm-hmm.
And so I tell Lyndon, you need to stop your cry. Oh shoot. I tell Casper Jr. I'm so sorry for editing. I tell Casper Jr. that he needs to stop his crying.
Okay.
And then, but you know, you directly handle Casper Jr. And so you should be kind of the reason to help Casper Jr. stop crying. But I straight up went to Casper Jr. and made him stop crying.
Mm-hmm.
And you didn't get notified about it at all.
Mm-hmm.
And then something happens that was not best for Casper Jr.
Mm-hmm.
And then you get upset at me. But you get upset at Casper Jr. instead because you're having to deal with Casper Jr.'s issues because of what the other boss. It gets very convoluted and everything goes back and forth, and I'm kind of stuck in the middle.
In other words, it's a issue of hierarchy.
Yeah.
See, the hierarchy it like accelerates way too fast for us in the hospital. And so gossip never really trends that high, like beyond our just direct manager.
Well, the CFO's office is quite literally like a few cubicles down from mine. And her door is open. So I mean like I work really closely. The company I work for also isn't that big, but like corporate drama is like you say something on Teams, but you should have said it in an email, or you said something in person, but it should have been in an email because the issue arises 10 days later. And then you're like, oh, yeah, I remember we talked about that. And then it's like, well, why didn't you get it done? Because we talked about it and I went home for the day. I can get that done now. And then that's when it goes into an email, when it's an immediate issue. And there's a lot of communication erroring because
Mm-hmm. See, my well, I don't really have much more to do. I will know that. Just it's really interesting seeing how they decided to talk about like rumors and gossip, because I feel like this came out in like earlier 2000s, but I think by the time like we were like really into like elementary and middle school
Mm-hmm.
is when they really pushed like rumors and stuff as bullying.
Now, I got bullied a lot as a child,
Mm-hmm.
and we've mentioned this before, but um, think back on this one specific moment that really relates to this episode. And it was an instant where I got bullied, and I had a volleyball game that day, and I decided to wear white jeans.
Mm-hmm.
And I started my period, and I didn't know it. But this is how it exactly turned into the rumor mill of the episode, though. I went into the bathroom, realized I had my period, stayed in the bathroom until my stepdad came to the school and got me a pair of pants and fresh underwear. But then I went back into class with a new pair of pants and fresh underwear, and
No.
instantly the next rumor mill that went around was I was pregnant because I got bigger pants when I was wearing basketball shorts because that was the only thing my stepdad could find.
See, I don't remember a rumor ever being started about me,
That's only one of the rumors.
but I don't know. I had a lot of weird interactions with people. Weird interactions, but I mean, there was always this weird assumption. You've even experienced this one to me, of like people thinking that like I'm gay.
Okay, that one is kind of like a weird phenomena.
But like it happened to so many people that people thought I was gay. That happened in middle school, high school, college. And like I had a best friend who was a guy, of course.
My
Stuff.
mom told me one time she thought I was going to be trans. I'm not a dude. I have male hormones I don't want, but that's unintentional. PCOS, you know what you're doing.
But like people always thought I was gay because I had a friend that we were both like pretty nerdy or whatever, liked Pokemon, Star Wars, that stuff. But like we were both geeky. But he was like my best friend, happened to be a guy.
Mm-hmm.
But people thought we were gay for each other. And I'm like, how? Because we goof around and hang out?
I mean, I never got. I feel like it's kind of different in the guy world, I gotta say.
It's always weird because like there's also that like weird phenomena where two guys are friends, like are good friends if they're at least a little bit gay with each other.
Okay, the real question then was how much were you doing things that were like considered to be a little bit gay with your friend?
Not at all until I became more comfortable with myself in college and high and beyond.
Do I know this friend?
Yes.
Okay. Well, hello, Casper Jr. I accidentally said your name on the podcast. But anyways, moving on to the next thing
Yeah.
that I was
Yeah.
had in my head.
Yeah.
Um
Oh, let me pause.
thank you.
And we're back. Okay.
I remembered now what I was going to talk about,
Yeah.
but it's kind of interesting because in my childhood, like people also never assumed I was gay just because I was forced. I mean, I we all know I have a bad history in of bad things in my past, but it was a straight relationship the entire time, and so people always thought that I was super straight. And now that like I'm in gonna be finishing my master's in a month, so congratulations to me, but none of y'all's are gonna really tell. Anyways, besides that point, now that I'm done with that and I have come out with my sexuality more, people have been honestly really shocked because I apparently don't give gay vibe.
No, you give bi vibe.
Which apparently I don't even give that. I feel like I do pretty well. I follow like the bisexual guidelines pretty well. Like,
I follow the rule book.
I unintentionally follow the rule book. Yeah. And I've been following those rules my whole life because apparently a bisexual needs to be drinking 3 different liquids at all times, and they must be at different temperatures. So you have your soda, you have your juice, you have your water. One is iced, one is hot, one is room temperature. So you have your 3 variation, you have tattoos, hello, you have piercings. I mean, I do have piercings, I just don't wear them. So that's the part that makes me not look gay, I guess.
And you don't know how to sit.
Yeah, I don't know how to sit. I legit hate sitting on this couch. Um like I've never really sat with my legs crossed, which sounds weird. I like sitting like a man where I'm like
Man spreading.
man spread. Yeah.
So I know I can't think of anything else regarding like the whole like rumor gossip aspect other than it was so funny watching those chains of events happening. That was so funny.
I did a kind of, because it is a rumor mill episode, I did want to ask you a question on, do you remember the last time you played a game of telephone?
I think it would have been band camp in high school. I don't think we ever really played telephone at all for prime time.
No.
No. So yeah, I think it was back when I was in high school. We would play telephone as like a bonding game or whatever. And the things people would say, like I remember one person by the time it got to me, someone like what was said to me, I swear by this, was Beyonce is a 50-year-old virgin.
Oh my gosh.
Only to find out that instead of Beyonce, it started out as a teacher at the school was a 50-year-old virgin. So here we are.
All the single ladies.
Oh my god.
All the single
now
ladies.
the song makes sense.
Now put your hands up.
When was the last time you played telephone?
The last time I can actively remember playing telephone, I was in a gymnasium, and I believe I lived in Oregon at the time because I must have been in Oregon because I'm thinking of the elementary school I grew up on. But I just remember that me and a whole bunch of kids, I don't know why we were standing like in this foam mattress circle because our gym was also a gymnastics like setup area. So we were always doing gymnastics for PE. It was got a lot of bloody noses. Besides that point, we set up the mats and then we started playing telephone, and then the sentence had something to do actually with a horse. And that's not what got said at all. And then the teacher went to describe the lesson for telephone and explained that a game of telephone isn't accurate because as you move from one person to another, translation gets lost. And when I think about this takes me back to, sorry, but core.
I was about to say interpersonal communications. So,
Well, this takes me back to core, not core 150. Those of you who don't know, we went to a Christian college and you have to take these core classes.
these core classes are meant to be like stereotypical college classes. They're all about like your worldview, what makes up your worldview, and they look at that through the lens of like policy making, philosophy and ethics, and then religion.
But in Core 250, they really kind of described how the Bible was made and how a lot of it was oral tradition.
250? That's a 150 thing. Because 250 is all about the philosophy and ethics.
We touched on it, just kind of like it was more of the timeline.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and explaining why the timeline of the Bible is so long. And because part of it was that it was oral tradition.
And that becomes a problem because some people are like, how much has that story been skewed?
Exactly. That makes me now wonder, like, how much of our religion is.
That makes me wish we had our theology major here, because there was a huge debate about whether the story in Genesis actually is the origin story of the Bible.
But the interesting thing about this is that science is kind of beginning to back up the Bible in some ways.
Well, and there's been a lot of things lending itself to like the fact checking, like the Dead Sea Scrolls
Mm-hmm.
and stuff like that. But anyways, back to like, yeah, oral tradition and how that like as stuff gets passed down, it doesn't necessarily stay accurate. And it's one of those things where like there's that life lesson in it, but it also shows how in today's age we've really come a long way, because we've come from we started as like a he said she said kind of culture,
Mm-hmm.
and now we have things that are so much more concrete: email, text, tell straight.
Quite literally, you said this, and it's traceable.
Exactly. And so it's really interesting to be able to see that and be like, oh crap, no, you're screwed.
It just makes me really think about how a lot of those things done back in the age and had to rely on oral history. I want to know, I mean, if I could go back into time, I think I would probably want to observe the culture of the people back then to see how they were spreading that information. Because if what our university taught us is true, then it would be supposed that it was in their culture to be accurate as possible for oral traditions to fully memorize these. And it's not just the Christianity culture, like Native Americans, they have oral song traditions to
A,
pass on their
a
stories.
lot of old cultures, Christian, Hindu, Islam, all Native American, all of them have this strong history of oral tradition. And it even points back to like older documents, we didn't have computers where you can just type. We didn't have autocorrect to correct the grammar. So everything was handwritten.
Mm-hmm.
And for a book like, let's say, the Bible or any religious text, for something to be written over and over that much to ensure that there are no mistakes is crazy to think about,
Mm-hmm.
because it lends itself to one mistake can alter the meaning altogether. It's like in this one line in Hamilton. Angelica Schuyler is talking about this letter that Alexander Hamilton wrote to her, and she said, "You normally say like my dearest Angelica, but in this he put a comma after dear, so it says my dearest Angelica,"
Mm-hmm.
versus like there's that pause, and so it changes the meaning. And so like
It's like the whole K, okay, I'm fine. The whole female, you know what I'm talking
the
about,
super
though.
analyzing of texts.
Yeah, like the one period, you're mad at me. The 3 periods, you might be mad at me. The more than 3 periods left on red continuous and bubble dots, you're mad at me.
I think that a lot of people our age are just growing up to be crypto analyzers of texts.
Okay, but do you like, I think this might just be because of my personality disorder, but like, do you sit there and like look at when someone opens up a text and then watch the bubbles and then like especially in Snapchat like
Once I see the bubbles, I'm like, shit, don't look at me watching at you.
yeah.
Snapchat has the little person that pops up.
Oh my gosh. And then it's like, hey, I'm dipping out so you can finish texting. Okay, cool. Then you pop back in, you read the message, and then they're still in there. So then they hop out so you can read the message, but then you start typing and they
Yep.
pop in, and you do the whole same thing back and forth. It is so funny.
Oh my gosh. Anyways, back to this episode. There's this weird B plot. It's barely a B plot. It's just something that happened while.
Oh, is it the whole Esteban thing?
No, it's Zack and Cody.
Oh,
Cody
Cody
has
and his
some.
identity crisis.
Oh, well, there's that, but also this Cody wants to go to this week in Washington. I don't know why it always makes me so happy whenever I actually hear Washington get brought up in TV shows.
Dude, I heard Distractable bring up Spokane once and they completely said it wrong. Markiplier, you said it wrong.
Let me guess, Spokane?
I think so.
Spokane? Spokane?
I don't know, but they were like talking about some robbery on one of their episodes. And
But no, so it always makes me weirdly happy whenever I see Washington get brought up and stuff. For some reason, I feel like no one talks about our state.
well, I mean, they talk about Washington, just not directly Washington. They normally just say Seattle and think Seattle's the entire state.
Facts. But I don't know. Did you ever have like a weird camp thing that you tried to get into like during summer or something?
Well, I went to like vacation Bible school as a kid, but that was just going to the church. There was this one camp thing that I went to. And this was when I lived in Grand Coulee. All of us sixth graders had to go to this sixth grade retreat because in a few years we were going to go to high school together. And so our teachers set aside money, like helped raise money so that way we could go over to Leavenworth and go camping out there as all of us sixth graders and bond before and get to know each other before we went to high school, because it was the merging of essentially like the native school and the non-native school are going to be going to the same high school in a few years.
Mm-hmm.
And so they just wanted to be like, hey, you guys are going to be forced together in a few years, might as well get to know each other. So that was the kind of deal. Oh my gosh, this now makes me remember. I've brought this up a few times, but at the camp, our group, the room that I was in the room with the principal and like a badass teacher, but we were the first group to go on the zip line. And that's why I chose to sleep in that house, because I wanted to be the first group on the zip line. I was also pretty much the first kid to climb the tree. And as soon as I get up to the top, everyone that was, and everyone was like my bully in this group, all the girls that hated me, and they were just like, oh, you should go wee, 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 like the pig commercial. And I was like, hell yeah, I'll do it. So I'm like waving my arms and I'm like, wee, 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 from the pig commercial with the kid, like pig that has the pinwheel window. Anyways, I don't know if you remember that commercial or not. I do that down the zip line, and I get to the end of the zip line and the rest of the girls finally make it down, and they thought I cried, and they told everyone in my grade that I cried going down the zip line. And I'm like, I don't look like I've cried.
Oh my god, I just remembered a weird rumor. Sorry, we're way past this, but I just remembered a rumor.
Oh, go for it.
So I won't say too much because I don't want to hurt my friends that I share this rumor with. But basically, when I was in high school, I was part of a love triangle. And
It's okay, I was in a pentagon.
I remember, don't read into that. That's not what you think it is. But with this love triangle, it took a little bit of time before she made a decision.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think it was like a good month before she really made a decision and stuff. And I remember that actually people were actually like kind of talking about it a little bit because all three of us were friends, and so they just thought that this one girl was basically dating two guys and that we were in some weird poly relationship, whatever. And yeah.
Remember when my roommate spread a rumor that we were dating?
Ugh.
Ugh.
Get away from me. You had to bring that up. Get away from me.
Megan, please show your husband that you are his wife.
Megan's in the other room right now because baby, and she's just not.
She's had a rough day.
She's adjusting to a new job.
Yes.
Same field, different place.
I just want you to tell the podcast that you are married to Sean and that, in fact, that is the true rumor.
Get away from me.
And here comes Megan.
Hi. I look really bad because I woke up at 2 a.m.
This is Megan. She is married to Sean.
Hi, I'm married to Sean. I'm usually in this podcast when I'm not dying.
Anyways, we're ending my roommate's rumor that me and Sean had a thing.
That's horrifying. The two people who can't hug.
I know. And Sean's now forcing me over in this corner.
Yep.
That sounds horrible.
I'm going to go before Casper Jr. eats the phone. Bye.
All right,
Thanks,
it's
Megan.
been confirmed.
Not that we needed it confirmed.
Hey, it's the interwebs, y'all.
But no, I wish I had the opportunity to like go to camps and stuff when I was like during summer break and stuff. For me, it was always just purely like school related, like field trips and stuff like that. Yeah.
Thank you,
Bye.
Casper Jr. is now going to
Casper
bed.
Jr. But anyways, no, I don't think I have much more to like.
I don't really have much more to talk about
I don't
either.
either. I thought this was gonna be a lot more.
No, but it was a fun little.
It was here's the thing, the episode is hilarious in itself. It's really funny, especially like all the different character relationships. And yes, what happened to London kind of sucked, but also woohoo, you're famous. That's always gonna happen
Yeah.
and stuff. The only thing we haven't talked about is just the weirdness of like the CPR class.
I mean,
Lance the lifeguard is teaching Maddie how to do CPR and stuff and uses himself as a dummy. And so Maddie gives him mouth to mouth and London walks and thinks that they're kissing. And that's the whole basis of the whole entire episode in the rumors.
yeah. Which is not very official to how CPR is done, anyways, for training.
Not anymore.
No.
They
have dummies.
They have dummies, but they also don't do mouth to mouth anymore.
Don't they have like a tube thing?
No, they have basically a bag and a mask.
Well, yeah.
You, like,
and then you like blow in. Oh.
No, not even that. It's like a bulb. It's like inflatable. It's almost like a football.
Look, all I remember from Dr. What's his name is chest compressions.
Don't say Dr. Mike.
Yes.
Oh my god. Yes, chest compressions, just staying alive. Go figure. Anyways, we're gonna let you guys go. Bye, friends.
Bye, friends. We'll see you next week. Please subscribe.
And like.